and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us. PTL listeners all over, Occupied Democrats Network, everywhere, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, the FMAM dial. We appreciate you being a part of the show, and we got some big guests lined up for you today. Coming up here in hour number 2, Don Lemon went viral for telling Megyn Kelly to F off. We'll tell you why. He'll be joining us on the show. I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with Joy Reid, and Don Lemon will be joining us in hour number 2. So as you know, there were over 1,500 people that were pardoned for actions that took place on January 6th by Donald Trump on the campaign trail. He made those promises, and it's one of those promises that he did fulfill. Some of those people are back in jail. Some of those people are not. And we have talked about Enrique Tarrio on this show as he followed former Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone in a hotel. We did talk about that. So I had the opportunity to speak to this man. His name is Zachary Rell. And Zachary Rell had the third longest sentence. I believe it was 15 years in prison. What took place that day. And he has agreed to come on this program and talk to us. And I do appreciate you, Zachary, for taking the time to come on, sir. How are you?
Good. Not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Doing okay. I do like your jersey. I want to start off by saying that.
I am in today too. So
yeah, I do like the jersey. We certainly have that in common. All right. So I appreciate you coming on, knowing that we might not agree on everything, but I do appreciate you being here. Let me ask you this to start. Did you know that Donald Trump was going to give you a pardon ahead of time? Did you get assurances that that was going to happen, or were you kind of 50-50 on it?
I deep down, I felt like he actually was going to do it because he kept talking about it all throughout his campaign. I didn't have any actual, for sure, assurances. I mean, I did know some people who worked with the administration, after he won, and they were saying positive things about it, but it was still wasn't 100% sure until it actually happened. So.
Gotcha. So, Zach, I'm sure you've probably been asked this question before, but I guess I'll ask it here. Do you have any regrets on that day? Do you have any regrets? Would you have done things differently if you had to do it all over again?
I mean, obviously, anytime when, you end up getting sentenced to a 15-year prison term, there's going to be regrets, obviously. I almost didn't even go down there in the first place. And, part of me wishes I didn't, but then, the other parts of me are just like, well, I didn't do anything down there to deserve what I got. So, I mean, yes and no. Like I said, maybe we wouldn't have marched close to the Capitol. Maybe we wouldn't have marched around the city at all. Maybe we would have stayed at the Ellipse a little longer. Maybe we wouldn't have got tied up in the riot and whatnot and everything like that. So,
Understood.
Yeah, obviously.
I know that you are not one of those people that beat Capitol police officers, and we can talk about allegedly you spraying an officer. I do want to get your thoughts on that. But what would you say specifically to those people that day that beat police officers? Do you believe they deserve to be pardoned? I know you weren't one of those people, but do you think they deserve to be pardoned?
Well, here's the thing. Pretty much every single person that went to trial was denied due process in some fashion. I mean, just the fact that there was 44,000 hours of video that was withheld by Congress, and January 6th defendants weren't able to use that. That's a denial of due process. And for that reason alone, I think any American, no matter what you did, wherever whatever, you have a right in this country to a fair trial. And when you're denied that by your own government, I think remedies need to be brought in. And that's why President Trump ultimately ended up getting everybody a pardon, because a lot of people were denied the due process in various fashions.
So in your court case, and correct me if I'm wrong, the prosecution showed a video of you spraying a substance into at least one Capitol officer's face. You had denied that, and you weren't charged with that, or convicted on that. I want to add that to the story. Did you or did you not do that? Like, what can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, I don't remember that scene at all. It was a surprise to me when I got on the stand. So I still don't even for sure even know if that was even me. But second of all, no substance came out of that, and no substance was shown to spray any cops. Even in that video, no substance was shown. So, I mean, I deny it full-heartedly. I mean, like I said, I don't think it was me, and that also didn't show any cop getting sprayed. So if there was, I would have been charged with assault.
Right. I understand. So Zach, the Proud Boys, are you still associated with them, if you don't mind me asking?
I'd say loosely associated. I haven't taken a leadership role in the organization or anything. I had friends who, stood by my side the whole time and helped my family out and whatnot. And I'm forever grateful to them. But I can't say I'm like, both feet into the organization kind of thing right now. I'm just trying to get my life back together a little bit.
I understand that. I understand that. So you had said in court that you let politics, quote, take over your life. You were tearful. You said, I'm done with politics. Do you still feel that way now? I know those were emotional statements that you made before sentencing. Do you still feel that way today?
For the most part, when it comes to certain aspects like rallying, in 2020, for example, I went to a lot of rallies in 2020 and for all various different things. And, basically, the news doesn't pay attention to the rallies that are peaceful. They only pay attention to the rallies that, something bad happens at. And just putting yourself in a position to where you can be a target of the media or a target of politics because something bad happened at one of these rallies. It's not something I really want to, keep putting myself in. So that I stand by that aspect of it,
Why do you think the Southern and Poverty Law Center and other organizations in this country consider the Proud Boys a hate group? Why do you think that is the case?
I think it just comes down to politics. I mean, I don't know specifically what we hate. I mean, we have members of all backgrounds, at my own trial, I had 3 African Americans come testify for me. I had an Asian man, we had a Jewish man, all testify on our behalf for us. And it's just like, we have people of all backgrounds, and I think it's just politics, Proud Boys got involved in some politics and that's it.
So Zach, you would consider yourself, I don't know if you would consider him a close friend, but you're friends with Enrique Tarrio, right? The leader of the Proud Boys. Is that a fair statement to make?
Yes, that's fair.
I'm wondering, I know you didn't do this, and I'm not saying that you speak for him, but I want to get your opinions on what took place the other day where I saw Enrique Tarrio, and we all did, in a video following Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone in a hotel, calling him a coward and other things. And I'm thinking to myself, this is just me. I'm like, why are you doing that? You were just pardoned. As you just said, you're trying to get your life back together, which I certainly understand. Why is he doing this? Why is he following Capitol police officers trying to start confrontations? It's not something you're doing. Why is he doing that? I just think it's a bad look, Zach.
I mean, I can't speak for, whatever Enrique does on a daily basis. But I do feel like he feels like he's been wronged and he wants to try and get his side of the story out there. And
I just think there's better ways of doing it though, Zach. Get your side of the story out there, like what you're doing right now. Come on a show. I think that's fine. And Enrique did CNN, and I thought it was a respectful interview. But I hear what you're saying, Zach, to an extent, but it's like, why would you follow a Capitol police officer who, by the way, as we know, Fanone got traumatic brain injury. He was beaten that day, and he's following him, calling him a coward. I don't know, Zach. I just think that if this guy, Tarrio, cares about being respected, I just think it's a bad look, man. Do you see where I'm coming from on that one?
Yeah, well, at the same time, that wasn't a planned thing. Like they were planning on going into the event and having the opportunity to see some of these guys speak and everything. And from my understanding, the collision between those 2 men kind of just randomly happened. It wasn't expected, and it was just kind of just a whim, just happened.
The only reason why I say that is because a lot of the people that were around him were wearing body cameras. There was a lot of right-wing media that had their cameras ready. To me, it seemed like he was expecting to do something like this. I understand what you're saying, where they were both going to the same event. I get that. But it almost seemed like he was wanting that confrontation. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I guess, you didn't do it, so I'm not asking you to speak for him, and maybe we can get Enrique on the show, and I'll ask him on this show. But Zach, I wanted to give you, and I called you yesterday because I don't want to ransack a guest, and I wanted to know if it was okay with you if we had another guest on the program, because I do appreciate you coming on, and I did want to give you the respect, even though I disagree with the actions of January 6th, and we probably disagree about Donald Trump a lot, but I wanted to give you the respect of at least asking you if a woman by the name of Pam Hemphill could join us. And the reason why I wanted her to join us is a couple different reasons. You're still pro-Trump, right? You're all in for Donald Trump. She is not. She served 60 days in prison, and 36 months probation. She declined her pardon. Obviously, you took your pardon. And you guys have been going back and forth on social media, and it's been brutal. So I said, Zach, let's get Pam on here. Hopefully you guys could have a conversation, and I'm going to try to stay out of it as much as I can. And I wanted you guys to have a conversation. So I'd like to bring Pam up if I can. And let me just start off by saying, Pam, thank you so much for joining us. And how are you?
Oh, fine. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Pam. All right, let me start with Pam. Pam, what is your, and move your camera a little bit because I think it's a little, okay, good. Pam, what is your issue with Zach and why are you guys having this riff on social media? Tell me what's going on and then Zach, I'll go to you after. Go ahead, Pam.
Well, as a lot of people know, I've been pushing back on the J6 narrative with all the J6 criminals. It's nothing new that I'm doing. However, they've gotten wind of some of the posts I put up there because I know, for an example, when Zach just now talked about the due process, I have researched the recordings, the court recordings. He did receive due process. He had an appeal. So I put the facts about what they're sharing with people out there because that's why our nation is so divided, because they keep pushing their lies about what really happened on January 6th. I was next to the Proud Boys. I have a video which they conveniently took out where Zach says he wants to go in the Capitol, and Nordine looks at him like, take a look at the video, like, shut up, shut up. But I'm asking them if they're going inside the Capitol because I thought they're there to protect Trump. And I'm videotaping everything that day, so I want to make sure I'm with them.
Okay.
So if they're next to Trump, it's just been one lie after another, and they're pushing back on me. And they put up that I'm right now, Ryan Samsel saying that I'm sending him DMs, naked pictures of myself. You know?
Yeah, well, that's obviously that's nonsense. I could speak to that. But Zach, what would you say to what Pam just referred to you? What would you be your response to that?
So, first off, we were denied due process. We were denied evidence at numerous turns. There's things that we were denied access to as far as software programs that gave us exculpatory evidence for just our text messages and whatnot. So she said I edited video. These weren't my videos. These were her videos. So I didn't edit the videos. She says to us something about being allowed in a Capitol because she did it with the Bundys, and I said we're not the Bundys. And then Ethan Nordine turns around and says we're not going in the Capitol. You know, and literally there's not a video out there prior to everything that happened at the Capitol that says we even had any interest in going to the Capitol, because we didn't. We didn't even know anybody was going to end up there. It wasn't part of our plans, and it's nothing we discussed ever, not once.
Zach,
Okay.
why is it you think? Go ahead, Pam. Go ahead.
I have a clip. I'll put that out there. Where your
I've been
camera-
asking for this clip for 3 days, by the way.
No, you can't hear you. You can hear you, but you got to slow it down real quick because you can hear you saying, "Yeah, I want to go inside." You
Okay,
can
let
hear
me.
me.
Okay,
But
so,
hold on.
so Pam,
I'm walking with the camera lady, and I ask her again, "Is there anybody going in?" Because I'm thinking legally. You guys going to do everything legally, right? And the camera lady says, "Yes, a few of them have plans to go inside." So I'll give you that clip. How about that?
I've been waiting for this clip this whole time and begging
No,
for you.
I
to hand
already
this clip
gave
over
you
for
the
3
clip.
days.
I
No,
gave
you
you the
did not.
clip about you saying you want to go in, and you
No,
changed.
there's literally no clip of me ever saying anything
Well, I'll
about the
send it
Capitol.
to
It
the
was
host,
never
and
part
he
of
can
our
listen
plans.
to it.
okay, well, let me just jump in here real quick because I want you guys to continue this dialogue. But the reality of the situation is, Pam, you got 60 days in prison, 36 months probation. Zach got 15 years. He accepted the pardon. Zach is still pro Donald Trump. Pam, you are not. Zach, I want to ask both of you guys this question. Zach, why are you still so supportive of Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's kind of hard not to support somebody who just cut your 15-year sentence down to 4 years. So, I mean, like that I respect him for that, and I appreciate that from him. But I am a big fan of smaller government, and one of the big things that he's doing right now is slashing waste and cutting down the size of a lot of these agencies. I'm happy with that. I wish more people would be happy with that, but it is what it is. Everybody has different opinions in this country, so I understand that.
Would you agree that Joe Biden won a free and fair election, though, because a lot of what took place on January 6th is they believe Donald Trump when he said that he won the election in a landslide and the Democrats cheated. I think you would agree with me on that. That's why a lot of people were there that day. Would you agree now there's been no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have overturned the election? Are you willing to agree that Joe Biden won a free and fair election?
It's hard for me to say because when I was down there on January 6th, there was a lot of things going around. Obviously, a lot of people believed President Trump at the time, but then I was arrested shortly after that and spent the last 4 years in prison. So part of me getting my life together is also catching up on a lot of things that went on the last 4 years. And I can't say for sure one way or the other, but I do believe that there was probably some shenanigans that day, that election. How far it went, I don't know. I believe the FBI is going to be looking into that now with Cash Patel and the DOJ with Pam Bondi. I think they're going to look into that more further. So maybe we'll find more info.
So, Pam, you obviously have a very different opinion. You both have spent time in jail. But, Zach, as you know, Pam is very anti-Trump now, and she's called it a cult. Pam, what would you say to Zach about that response about the 2020 election?
Unfortunately, what happened, we lost our critical thinking. I, too, was told that the Democrats want to turn this into a communist nation. And I also learned by your little sign that the Proud Boys are white supremacists. And I do a lot of research. I hope you look into this book. It's called Disapprove. And it's actually from the man that researched the election and came up with the facts for Trump. He was hired by Trump, that the election was not stolen. There were people around him telling Trump the election was not stolen. But he hung on to that narrative and went out there anyway, telling everybody the election was stolen. That's what brought you and me and everybody down there that day, shamefully. Believe in this man that the election was stolen and that the Democrats are after us, that the deep state, there is no deep state, Zach. The deep state is Project 2025 that now is trying to be implemented. Everything you're hearing out there, if you would do your own research, I listen to both sides of the story to try to get facts. We all have opinions, we all hear everybody, but we don't research ourselves to find out the truth. And then let me tell you, when I found out the truth, I didn't like it. I really didn't. And I fought it a little bit, but I had to, it was right in front of me, the fact that the election was not stolen.
Well, let me ask Zach this. Zach, can it be possible that Donald Trump just doesn't want to admit that he lost and that there was no widespread voter fraud? There's always going to be fraud in elections. I think we all could agree on that. Nothing's going to be perfect, right? We were also in a global pandemic. Some things had changed. But Donald Trump won a free and fair election in 2016. I think we can both agree on that. And I also do believe Donald Trump won fair and square in 2024. Why can't we all just agree that Joe Biden won, Trump just won, and if Trump didn't say the election was stolen, you wouldn't have been there that day. Pam wouldn't have been there that day. You guys probably wouldn't have spent one day in jail because January 6th doesn't happen. Am I wrong in assuming that?
In certain aspects, I see what you're saying. And is anything possible that maybe there was no fraud or very little fraud? Anything's possible. But the reason why I think it's important that we still focus on it and get to the root of the problem, because if there really was voter fraud, that's not something that we want to have in our country for either side. I believe in free and fair elections, and I believe that, we should have integrity in our elections and be able to have faith in our elections. I mean, there's been a long time growing up. I always heard how people would say, oh, these elections are all rigged. And, that discourages people from voting, and that affects you and I.
I agree. And Donald Trump still says that to this very day. And I just don't think any presidential election, did I say erection? My apologies. Election was rigged. And that's my personal opinion. And I think a lot of people, in my opinion, Zach, a lot of people have been brainwashed and ill-informed into thinking that somehow the Democrats cheated in 2020, but yet if they had the capabilities of cheating in 2016, why didn't they do it then? Why didn't they do it in 2024, right? As Americans, we all have the right to vote for who we want to vote for. But what I don't like to see, I don't mind people questioning an election, but I think there's a difference, Zach, between questioning an election and saying an election was stolen and rigged. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton did the same thing in 2016. She still says he lost.
She does? Didn't she
Yeah,
concede? Didn't she concede the next day?
she did concede, but she still
Mhm.
said that the election was stolen, and she did. She still says it to this day. So they
I don't
still say it
recall
to
her.
this day.
I don't recall her saying that. I know she called him an illegitimate president, but
For
I don't.
why would she call him an illegitimate president? She's calling him
Well,
that because she thought he stole the election.
I think he's an illegitimate president, not because he stole the election, because he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, because he's a liable sexual abuser, because he's a 34 count felon, because the man is hawking Bibles for $60. I just think it's despicable. I think his behavior is despicable. I would call him illegitimate because the man every single day embarrasses us on a world stage. That's why I think when you attack our POWs and you say you don't respect somebody because they were captured, that should make you illegitimate for being a crossing guard, a school crossing guard, let alone the president of the United States. Zach, I have the utmost respect. You served, correct, sir?
I did serve, yeah, and
And thank you for your service. I have the utmost respect, regardless of any things you've done in your life that I disagree with. I will always honor those who served like yourself, and I will call you a hero for that. I don't like Ron DeSantis. I don't like JD Vance, but I will never crap on their military service because just like you, I respect their service. When Donald Trump said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, as someone like yourself who served, you couldn't have been okay with that, right?
well, look, everyone can agree that it probably was a bad look to say it in those words, but at the end of the day, they're two politicians going, with the boxing gloves on, basically, essentially, and that's what happens in politics. I mean, people say things to each other to, try to one up each other as far as insults are concerned
Can
and
you give me
whatnot.
an example, though, of somebody on the left that has crapped on somebody's military on the right that said they don't respect them because they were captured? Can you give me one example in our lifetime of a Democrat that crapped on the military service of a Republican just because they're a Republican, because they're a politician? I can't think of one time.
Off the top of my head, no, but I've seen things just as bad be thrown across the aisle.
Well, I want to hear you.
I mean, just with the DOJ. I mean, like when I was on the stand, they crapped on my military record. I know that wasn't politics, but I mean, those prosecutors were Democrats, and they're making my military service seem like it was something that I should have been convicted for based on alone, just because I was in the Marine Corps, and it was disgusting. You shouldn't have your military service used against you unless you actually used your military service to commit a crime.
So if that did happen, I would obviously disagree with that, but you're specifically talking about politicians. And I'm saying if you're running for the president of the United States, I don't think it's an excuse that, well, it's just dirty politics. I don't think that should ever happen, whether it's you in a courtroom, as you say, or if you're running for president. I just think it's beyond inappropriate and it's beyond the pale. But Pam, I want to go back to you because you guys, Pam and Zach, you guys have been going at it on social media. Enrico Tarrio has also entered into the conversation. This has led a life of its own now. And I know you guys continued it this morning. Talk to Zach about this. I want you to talk directly to Zach about this. Maybe I'm glad that you guys are able to have a conversation like this on the air now. I think it's a lot better than doing it on social media. What do you want to say to Zach about this?
But the back and forth and what we're
saying.
I
mean, you guys have been going back and forth for days, now.
Well, I'm going to keep putting out the facts, Zach, no matter what you're saying. For an example, wasn't there a 1776 return plan to occupy the Congress office buildings and the Capitol? Did you do an appeal? I'm going to keep putting these questions out, and I just want the truth from you. That's all. And
That's
I'm putting out facts, and I know you. But you're putting out lies. I mean, putting pictures of me naked, and saying things like that.
I did not do that.
But you said, oh, yeah, you responded to it. And Tario, you know what? You Proud Boys, I'm sorry. I'm not scared of you. You got to understand that. In fact, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. Not tomorrow, maybe the next day. You want to meet me there? Come on, all of you come there. I'm going to be at the Capitol. I've been invited by CNN. I'm going to be in New York, and then I'm going over to the Capitol. Come on and let's have a talk. Let's have a decent talk. But you won't, because you got to stay with your narrative of lies about January the 6th. And I'm not going to allow it. As long as I have a voice, when you lie, outright lie about something, I'm going to debunk you. People have done it to me. You know what my therapist said to me? Pam, stop being a victim. You were a volunteer that day, Pam. You could have left. And I'm making amends for ever being there, Zach. And I'm sorry that you listened to all the lies too, but they have been lies. The Capitol doors were not opened by the police. I've already
Zach?
debunked that, and we got proof against that. Joanne Boland, she was trampled by the not patriots, the criminals. It wasn't on and on. Nancy was not responsible for the
That's true.
national. We can
That's true.
debunk these. We got facts.
That is
Why
true.
are
I
you-
will. I will add to that because that is a lie. I'm not saying Zach said that, but Nancy Pelosi did. Donald Trump was the president of the United States at that time, and he had the authority to call in the National Guard. That is a narrative that is not true in regards to Nancy Pelosi. As far as people that were opening up the doors, there were a few Capitol police officers that quote unquote let people in. But Zach, when you're one person with a weapon and there are hundreds of people, you have two choices. And some of these people have testified about that. I could either take out a gun and start shooting people, which I think we all could agree we didn't want that Capitol police officer to do, or let them in and then, get some more help. So Zach, surely you can't, say that they were just voluntarily letting people in. They had two choices, right? Is that fair?
Well, here's the thing. One of the things you said you like to do research and everything. So Miss Pam. So I would suggest you do some research on some of this. So first of all, the senior Capitol police officer testified at our trial, and he stated after the first breach, his words, after the first breach of the building, they let everybody else in. Everybody was allowed in, and they did that because they didn't want to make the crowd more mad or upset, which is fine. Okay, if that's the strategy you want to go with, fine. But at some point, when you're continuously letting people in, and then you turn around and charge them with felonies, that's entrapment. That is entrapment, straight up entrapment. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That building was closed down to the public.
How
Period.
is somebody
You had
supposed
no business
Listen,
being
hold
there.
on. I let
It
you
was
speak. I let you
closed
speak.
down
Okay, one at a
to the
time.
public.
One at a time.
No,
Go ahead.
I hate their lying, twisting.
It's not a lie. You can check the transcripts. I
You're
can give
not
you the name
supposed to be
afterwards.
there.
So how are we supposed to know when we're being let in by police officers? We
Oh,
were
come on. You
allowed
didn't have
in.
a choice.
So
You
the
had no
cop
choice.
literally said it on the stand at our trial that he let people in because they didn't want to inflame the crowd.
Oh, but he
Now,
forced you in, didn't he?
secondly,
You didn't have a choice, right? You had no choice. What were you doing in there?
I went in there to take pictures. I've never been to the Capitol before.
Oh,
I said, hey, they're letting people in. Hey, let's
you
check
can't
it out.
schedule to go do that? What were you in there for?
Well,
Why did you go?
Let me ask you, Zach, can I ask you a question? I'm going to try to use an analogy and help me out with this. If there were 20 or 30 people that were trying to rob a bank, you had 30 people in there, a mob of people that were trying to rob a bank, and you had one guy with a gun. That guy with the gun has a choice to make. You either shoot everybody or you let them in and then let the authorities take care of it, or when you have more backup and help. I don't think that anybody would blame that officer or security person for doing that. And those people who are robbing the bank are going into an area where they're not allowed to. They know they're not going into an area where they should be allowed to be. I personally believe that everybody knew they weren't supposed to be there. And in my personal opinion, if they didn't know, then they're idiots. I'm sorry, back then. I'm not talking about now, but back then, if you thought you weren't breaking the law and it was just okay to storm the Capitol, then in my opinion, back then, you're an imbecile for doing so, with all due respect. I mean, that's just my opinion on the people that stormed the Capitol. I don't know how you can blame Capitol police officers for people who committed crimes that day. I don't know if necessarily you're doing that, Zach, but I mean, that's my take on the thing, right? If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. You can't use an excuse of, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's like driving a vehicle 100 miles per hour and you have somebody next to you who says, oh, yeah, you can go 100 miles an hour. No, you need to know the law.
Exactly. What I want to say, Zach, listen.
I just want Zach quickly, Pam. I want to let Zach respond to that.
Look, I don't speak for anybody else but myself. And look, first of all, I already know that the Capitol is, they call it the people's house for a reason. You are generally, most of the time, allowed in there. It's one of the bedrock of our foundation of our democracy is you can go in there and you can watch Congress debate law and vote on law. It's a very well-known thing. By the time I got up there, it was 45 minutes after people were already in the building. So for me, I didn't know if people were going in and out of that building. I didn't know if they were allowed in at the beginning or not. I had no idea. All I seen was, hey, this is the Capitol. I know people are usually allowed in there. People are in and out of there. And that's when I decided to go in there.
Did you hear anybody chanting, hang Mike Pence?
I actually didn't hear that. And I took videos on my phone. And if that was on my phone, you would have heard about it in my trial. but it wasn't.
What do you think about that? What do you think about those chants?
I think it was just people acting out of line, and maybe just being mad, I guess. I mean, I don't think they actually wanted to. I think it would have been really bad if that did happen. I mean, obviously, but yeah, I think it was just blown out of proportion, to be honest.
Okay, so Pam, Zach is making the case that he went into the Capitol 45 minutes after it had already started, and he didn't see it as breaking the law as going into the Capitol. I want to give you a chance to respond to that, Pam. Go ahead.
I felt the same way. This was my narrative. Well, I wouldn't have pushed barriers. I wouldn't have hurt cops. I'm standing by the door and there's 2 officers there. I'm thinking they're letting them in, right? So I'm going to stand there and ask the officer if he'll, or do we have permission to come in where I got shoved in? All that is an explanation, but it's not an excuse. I still broke the law, period. Black and white, end of story. It doesn't matter what my intentions were. They were good. I got caught up in the crowd, all that. It
Yeah.
explains it, but it doesn't take away the fact that I broke the law.
Zach, what do you say to that?
All right. Well, hey, if you read the text of the trespassing charges, knowingly entering and remaining in restricted buildings or grounds, knowingly. So you're saying you knowingly did that day. You knew you broke the law that day. Then that's on you. I didn't. I stated my case already. Like I said, if I was there when the first door was getting busted down, I rolled in afterwards. Maybe you could say I knowingly entered the building and when it was restricted. But when I went up there, by the time I got there, doors were open. Walked through 2 open doors, and that's that.
Why is it you think you got a longer sentence than others that committed violent crimes that day?
I think it just has to do with the notoriety of the Proud Boys. Honestly, we had a lot of protests. We did a lot of protests in 2020. 2021 was, pretty much going to be the last one, in my opinion, for a while with January 6th. But I mean, it really just comes down to that. Honestly, I think we were the biggest name, and they wanted to make an example out of us, and to basically discourage anybody maybe from participating or getting any ideas to maybe have another riot or anything like that, or do anything of that nature.
Is it wrong of me to assume? I understand that you served, but I've seen Proud Boy members marching in the streets, some of whom wearing a bunch of camouflage at protest with AR-15s in their hand that never served one day. And I find that to be very bizarre. I find it to be weird behavior. That's all. I understand that you served, which I respect, but there are some Proud Boy members that wear all this camouflage gear and boots like they're literally going to war, and they never served one day. I just find that to be bizarre behavior. Am I wrong in assuming that or thinking that way?
Not really. I mean, we make fun of some of those guys that do that. We call it LARPers, but a lot of times when we show up, for me, example, I've been to events and rallies and whatnot. I might put on a vest, and we do that for people who are high profile. I'm a big name in the area, and some of our guys throughout the end of 2020 got stabbed at a couple of rallies. So more people decided that they would wear these vests, so that way in case we got stabbed, nobody wants to die going to a protest, so
of course not. Of course not.
But as far as the ARs and the guns and all that, like I don't know what rally that was. It maybe would have been a Michigan rally. I'm not sure, because that's one of those states where it's like open carry, but we don't typically carry weapons like that, and that's and anybody who is, I don't know. I don't know the reason why they did. So I would have to know more information on that.
Understood. I want to give both of you the opportunity to speak to each other one last time here. I think it's one thing. Listen, I think X is a cesspool of just people saying bad things to one another. I really do. I think social media, for the most part, has turned into that. I don't want that to happen here, but I want to give both of you the opportunity to speak to one another last time here. Pam, I guess I'll start with you. Last word here, Pam. What is the message that you want to convey to Zach today? You guys have been going back and forth on social media, like I said, with Enrique Tarrio. What do you want to say to Zach in closing? Maybe something you haven't said yet that you'd like to say to him right now.
Well, first, thank you for your service. My brother was a Marine too. Appreciate that. And I totally understand how we can wrap ourselves around justifying what we do, because I did that. I did the same thing. I've been there. But when facts were represented to me, I had to start paying attention, especially when Ryan Samsel lied about that eye being taken out and found out that it wasn't true. And I was supporting the Proud Boys. I was supporting Ryan Samsel. And I find out the lies, and that upset me because I'm there to support anybody that's doing the right thing and telling the truth. But as soon as I find out that this is false lies going on, I can't handle that. I'm going to push back on what's the fact about that day. So, I'm going to continue to put out facts. Hopefully, maybe one or two things you may research yourself too. I know there's two sides to every story. That's why we have divorce court, because everybody has their side. But let's have this get back together with the side of the facts, not my opinion or what I'm thinking. Don't be twisting it to make it sound like it's okay. Just be factual with what you're putting out there. And I'll be factual.
Zach, go ahead.
That's fair. And, I know you supported us. I read the private text messages that said that you were claiming we were innocent and you wanted to help us at one point. So I appreciate that. I wish you didn't change course, but you like to do research. You like the facts. You kept mentioning that we were white supremacists. First off, we are not white supremacists. If you looked at our trial, you'll see that we had two African-American Proud Boys that testified for us, an Asian Proud Boy who testified for us, and a Jewish man who testified for us, all Proud Boys. So that's one thing that maybe you were lied to about. And I would like
what's
to clear
that mean
up.
then? What's that mean?
That's PB. PB. That's all that means. So look, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So, hey,
Zach, can I ask you? It's fair to say, though, that there are some that were in the Proud Boys organization that are white supremacists. There are some, I'm not saying all, I'm not even saying majority, but clearly it's been proven that there are some Proud Boy members throughout the country that literally have swastika tattoos. So I understand what you're saying. Not everybody is a white supremacist. I understand, but you would agree with me that certainly there are some, right?
I mean, not that I know personally. There's a lot of riffraff in any organization, no matter what, any political party, any organization. And, it's just how you handle it. Like we've disavowed a lot of members that made our group look bad, and we continue to do so this day. So whether or not there is right now, I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I don't have both feet in the organization right now, but
understood. Yeah. Well, I'll close by saying this. I do appreciate both of you coming on. I know both of you disagree on Donald Trump. Zach, we probably disagree a lot on Donald Trump, but I wanted to hear both of your sides. Of course, we'd like to get Enrique Tarrio on the show as well, but I do. You guys are welcome back anytime. I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the fact that it was civil, even though some people would say maybe it'd be better radio if it wasn't. I'm actually glad you guys were civil with one another, and I do appreciate both of you for coming on and stating your case, and I think as Americans, we need to have more of these conversations. I really feel that way. Yes, thank you. So, Zach Rell, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. Pam Hemphill, thank you as well. Be nice to each other on social media, okay, guys?
I'll try.
We're going to keep coming.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. That's Zach Rell and Pam Hemphill joining us. A lot more civil than I thought it would be, to be honest with you, and that's probably a good thing, right? You have one January 6th prisoner, Pam Hemphill, who went to prison for 60 days. She's now on 30. I think she was on 36 months of probation. And she's anti-Trump now. And I'm certainly on her side when it comes to calling out Donald Trump and calling out those who committed violent acts on January 6th. I'm obviously on her side. And then you have on the flip side of it, that was Zach Rell. He got the third longest prison sentence of everybody that was sentenced for their actions on January 6th. Obviously, I disagree with Zach's position on the Capitol Police officers, some of the statements he made. I disagree with his position on Donald Trump in a lot of different aspects. But I hope Zach is a valuable member of society these days. He says he's trying to get his life back together. I hope he's learned from his mistakes. And we'll have to, time will tell, right? Time will tell. I want to open up the phone lines right now because we have Don Lemon coming up here in about 20 minutes. The number to call is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Now's the time. I want to get your reaction. We just had two January 6th prisoners on, one named Zach Rell, who got the third longest prison sentence, and the other one, Pam Hemphill, who is now anti-Donald Trump. She went to prison for a couple months, and she's calling out people like Zach Rowe, and those two have been getting into it on social media big time. So I wanted to give them both an opportunity to speak to one another, and it was, a civil conversation, which actually surprised me a little bit, which I can appreciate. So the number to call again is 702-221-7283. That's the number if you want to join the program. We also have the YouTube super chat going on where we'll take your questions and comments. And of course, my personal website, which is pushingthelimits.live, where you can also make donations and make purchases of PTL gear. And we do appreciate both of them for taking the time to join us. Obviously, I knew that they would disagree. Zach knew that he would disagree with me on a number of different topics, but he was still willing to come on, which obviously I do appreciate. By the way, in court documents, Zach said that January 6th was a despicable day. Zach also said he was done with politics, so we'll see if that rings true. I don't know whether he sprayed law enforcement or not. What I do know is apparently prosecutors presented evidence that showed him spattering law enforcement with a chemical spray. He denies it. He says he doesn't remember it. He was not convicted of that. So you can take that as you were. I'm just presenting the facts to all of you. All right. Number to call is 702-221-7283. If you would like to be a part of the conversation, we're going to take some phone calls now for the next 15 minutes or so. All right. Who do we got first up here? Let's go to Jason. Jason is first up on PTL. What's up, Jason?
Brian, I wish you would have pushed back a little bit. Number one, all you could say is every racist say they got a black friend or a Jewish friend or a Spanish friend. Every racist says that. Yeah, I got one. Let me tell you when you're not a racist, when a community backs you up. That's number one. And number two, I wish you would have pushed back on he had no right to be at the state capitol. They were certifying election. Yeah, if another day you could go.
Well, I made that, Jason, with respect, I made that pretty clear. In fact, I called everybody imbeciles that were in there. So I'm not sure what else I can do other than call people imbeciles that were inside the Capitol that didn't know it was against the law. I used that term.
But he kept denying it, though. He kept denying it.
He can keep denying it, but at the same time, I wanted Pam to have the opportunity to have a conversation with him, and they did. But that's all I can do is say, I disagree with you. Here's why I disagree. And go to the length of saying, listen, if you were in the state capitol and you think you had the right to be there, then that day, at least, you were a complete imbecile. That's really all I can say.
Brian, I'm going to tell you one thing. Brian, I'm going to tell you one thing. I don't know if I have it in me to conversate with any MAGA because to me, they're in a cult, like Hare Krishna or the Moonies, and you cannot talk to somebody in a cult. They're brainwashed, and nothing's going to change that brainwashing.
Well, listen, there's a difference. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. There's a difference between a regular, everyday person conversing or not conversing with MAGA and somebody doing a radio show. I am not going to have people on my show every day that I agree with. This is not going to be a left-wing echo chamber show. I always have people on my show that I disagree with almost pretty much on a daily basis. So I think there's a difference between a regular everyday person that doesn't do a show and somebody like me. I will always interview the other side. I will always invite people on the show that I disagree with. Heck, I had George Santos on the show last month. So that's just me. And that's my promise to you. This is not an echo chamber show. I interview more people I disagree with than I agree with. All right, who are we going to next year? Let's go to Terry. She's calling from Maryland, I believe. Terry, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I just wanted to mention that Leonard, I think his name is Leonard, your police friend. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's actually coming in studio tomorrow. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I had called back a while ago and asked him about the barricades.
Yep.
And he said, once you go over the barricades, you are trespassing.
Correct. That is correct.
And they were all trespassing. So I have to really push back on Zach there.
Yeah.
That,
well, I agree.
Felt like it was okay for him to go in. But I do remember Leonard saying that when you
do
that.
And you know what? You can call tomorrow and ask him about that. But my dear, you're 150% correct. Once you go past the barricades, this is where I think maybe Zach was being a little bit disingenuous when he said, well, listen, I was there 45 minutes after it started and I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I don't know if I completely agree with him. And I don't think he's being honest when he says that. He knew he was doing wrong. He knew he shouldn't have been there. And I think most people did. And quite frankly, if they didn't know, then like I said before, they're imbeciles and I don't feel bad for them. That's my personal opinion. And I appreciate your phone call, and you'll have the opportunity to call in tomorrow, by the way. Leonard will be joining us in studio. Thank you, Irene, in the Super Chat YouTube. Calling in or sending a Super Chat donation from Norway, saying, I'm not going to call in, but I'm watching you from Norway. Thank you, Irene. She's on the YouTube Super Chat. You could also go on my website, pushingthelimits.live as well. All right. From Pennsylvania, why don't we go to Robert? Robert is calling neighbors to Zach Rell, I guess. Robert, what's going on?
Okay, Brian, I'm going to call you as a genuine 100% human being. Okay? And I'm going to say this to the American public. The program I just viewed is one of the most honest programs I've seen in a long time. And when human beings can get to the point where they can sit down and hash out problems verbally and come to the conclusion that benefit all, the world would be a better place to live in.
Agree. And that's why I wanted Pam and Zach to come on my show together, because they have been brutal to one another on social media the last couple days. And I wanted to give them the opportunity to hash it out, and maybe it helped. I'm hopeful it did. And we'll have to wait and see how it plays out on social media. But I am glad they had the opportunity to speak to one another, not just on social media.
Because of that, I think a lot of people will look at this from a humanistic point of view.
Yeah.
And see if people can agree to disagree.
Sure. There's a way to do it. And listen, I disagree with Zach on almost everything, right? But I wanted to have...
I heard what he said.
Yes.
And what he did, he hinged on most of his most, I'm going to say, primal instincts.
Yeah.
Because he did not want to say, I now see the error of my way.
Listen, I can tell, and I can
believe.
Correct. And I can tell.
I don't believe.
Correct. And I can tell when I asked him about Tarrio, Enrique Tarrio, they're friends. And I said, you got Tarrio who's, confronting Michael Fanone and Capitol Police officers. I can tell he was not comfortable with that. He wouldn't do that. But Tarrio did in his Proud Boys gear, selling T-shirts and hats on his website. That's why he did it, for a viral moment. Let's go to Catherine, who's calling in from New York. Catherine, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. I thank you. And that the conversation between those two it was great. They were civil, and hopefully that will start something that will be better on the internet. But I wanted to mention something today that really upset me. And that was in the presentation of Trump with all his cronies or his board, that again, he mentioned Ukraine. And again, he sat on TV the other day with President Macron, and he said that they got money back from France, and Macron stood there and corrected him.
Yeah.
And again, he goes and he lies and said that France gave the money to the Ukraine. He was corrected by Macron.
That is true, and I'm actually going on a national network tomorrow. I won't name the show yet, but I'm going on a national TV show tomorrow to talk about that very topic. They asked me to come on, so yeah, you're absolutely right.
You feel like you're crazy. I'm so grateful to you for this show.
Well, thank you, my dear.
You've listened to that, and you're crazy.
Well, I'm grateful to people like you. Let me be very clear on that, because without people like you that are donating in the super chat on YouTube, that are donating on my website, pushingthelimits.live, that support what I do, I wouldn't be able to be here. So trust me, I put that right back at you. I'm grateful to you as well. All right, who we going to do next here? Let's go to Keith. He's calling out of Florida. Hey, Keith, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, listen, I have no respect for Zach there, because I'm a veteran, and anybody that votes for a draft dodger, I have no respect for that. I have none whatsoever.
Well, Keith, I agree.
I served my country, and I have respect for other military people. But you vote for a draft dodger, you get no respect from me. None.
Okay, so Keith, I can totally understand why you would say that. Hear me out on this, and I'm not trying to defend Zach. There are certain people out there that serve this country honorably. I call them all heroes. And perhaps they're ignorant to facts. They're completely brainwashed. I'm not trying to make excuses for these people. I'm just saying there are some scenarios, perhaps, where maybe they don't have hate in their heart, and maybe they just watch Newsmax all the day and they're completely brainwashed and they're gone. Is that possible, Keith?
Yeah, it's possible, because get this. 65% of the military voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I don't
this
understand
time
that.
around.
That's perplexing. I really, I don't get
those
it.
people I have no respect for. I have no respect for those people.
It's very puzzling to say the least.
I once upon a time called them my brothers and sisters in arms. They are no longer that.
Keith, I understand where you're coming from. Trust me. You listen to the show, you know I call this out every day. And Keith, thank you.
I watch every day.
Keith, I appreciate you and thank you for your service. You're a hero. Folks, I don't get it. I don't know how you can be a woman and vote for Donald Trump with all the abuse and the way he's treated women his whole life. If you're a veteran like Keith, I don't know how you can vote for Donald Trump when he calls people like you suckers and losers. And he says he doesn't respect a POW because he was captured. I don't understand it. So I understand where Keith is coming from. Trust me. Let's go to Lisa. Lisa's calling out of Florida. What's up, Lisa?
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I appreciate this show.
Thank you.
I wanted to go back with what Zach said, that he didn't know what was going to happen. To me, when Donald Trump made his speech, said, let's not in the specific words, but let's take it back, or don't let the transition happen. To me, right there, that's something negative.
Right.
And as an adult, you know something bad is going to happen if you're going to go against the Constitution. So right there, you should have known that it was wrong. And when you see angry people at the Capitol, you should also know that's wrong. That's one incident to back off.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point you make. And I totally understand that. And I appreciate your phone call. And this was a different type of interview for me. Like, I had an insurrectionist on this show last month, and forgive me, I'm forgetting his name. And, you know, I put him on full blast for 30 minutes. And for whatever reason, I'm forgetting his name now. A younger gentleman who's like an actor who lives in California. He did my show, and it's on my YouTube page. It was like a 30-minute, this was different. Okay. This was a situation where I wanted to give Pam and Zach the opportunity to speak to one another. This was more important than me attacking somebody or calling somebody out. This was an opportunity for two people that are being really nasty to each other on social media to actually speak to one another and air out their differences. And I think maybe we were able to accomplish that. I think that's the part that maybe some people are failing to understand. And that's why I wanted to give them the opportunity to come on. Let's go to Judy. Judy is calling Jody is calling all the way from Las Vegas. What's up, Jody?
Hi, Brian. I love your show. I tell everyone about it.
Thank you.
But I've got a comment to Zach.
Yes.
He said he showed up 45 minutes after it started. Well, using your bank analogy, if you walked into a bank that was being robbed, would you keep going in even if you felt like you were allowed to go in?
Yeah.
If he got there 45 minutes, all that violence was taking place. I'd have turned around and run unless I was looking to cause trouble too.
Yeah, listen.
Does he think we're that stupid, or he has no common sense?
I completely agree with you. Listen, I haven't sat here defending anybody that's gone in there. I haven't.
I know you have.
Even if you're a nonviolent criminal, I've said that to Pam. I'm like, Pam, I'm glad that you are who you are now and you're calling it out. It's courageous of you to do that. You did some very stupid things that day. She agrees with me. Okay. I'm not here to defend anybody that was, in fact, even the people that didn't get arrested that day, in my opinion, that were, even though they had the right to be there, they're imbeciles, because most of them all agreed that with Trump that the election was stolen. They're imbeciles. Okay. They were wrong. They're imbeciles. They were brainwashed by Orange Cheeto Jesus. But at the same time, the people that don't want me to have MAGA people on this show, then better find another show. And if, it does me no good. We're not talking about a caller who calls into this show that's MAGA. That's just a moron that I will call out and then hang up on. I'm talking about newsmakers and people that I disagree with, but it's important to have dialogue with them. And I don't want it to turn into that. So if people wanted me to have a guy who was sentenced to 15 years and just call him names and then have him leave the interview before Pam gets on, that wouldn't have accomplished anything. Maybe some people would have enjoyed it more, but that wouldn't have accomplished anything. I wanted to keep him on and be respectful so that Pam had the opportunity to converse with him. And I think we were able to accomplish that. And that's what I wanted to do.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I appreciate
There's no common sense with these guys.
With a lot of them, I certainly agree with you. There's not. Anybody who thinks the election was stolen is out to left field, man. I appreciate your call, my dear. Thank you so much for calling in. Who are we going to next here? Let's see. who would be the next person on that phone list that we are going to. Let's go to Julie, who's calling out of Tennessee. Hello, Julie. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. Today's was pretty interesting. Zach has a selective memory from what it seems like. I don't get why he would be like, oh, yeah, there's somebody going there and breaking into a building. I should join them. No, you turn around and you freaking run.
Right. I agree. That's what a logical human being would do. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't have been there to begin with, but you're absolutely right. And I agree with you. And as I've said before, and I say again, I have big issues with, anybody who committed violent acts that day being pardoned. It's one thing if you went into the Capitol, you shouldn't have been there, you broke the law, you get pardoned. Okay, that's one thing. But for the people that beat police officers or pepper sprayed cops that day, who destruction of property, defecated on Nancy Pelosi's desk, any of that stuff, I have a serious issue with those pardons. And that's how I feel. And I'm not going to change my thoughts on that. That's for sure.
But to lighten the mood a little bit, my Moroccan friend, he saw a photo or a video of Trump kissing Elon Musk's feet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about that, seen it, but there's like a YouTube short and I watched it. I was like, oh.
Well, put it this way. Behind closed doors, I think Donald Trump is kissing other things. Let's put it that way. I appreciate the call, my dear. All right, let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on PTL. Hello, Patrick.
Brian, how you doing?
Good. What's on your mind, Patrick?
Well, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the hard evidence that's out there and the receipts provided that show you and your parents defrauded.
All right, again, you're just going to call into the show and say stupid stuff. Have a nice day, Patrick. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Patrick is an imbecile, and obviously he doesn't want to stay on topic. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is calling out of California. What's up, Joseph?
Yeah, hey, Brian. All right, here's my piece. Hearing Pam, I say that's a good thing she did not take I'm glad she did not take the pardon from Trump because she knows she made a mistake. She learned from her mistake, and she's doing the right thing of speaking the truth about what happened. Unlike Zach, who thinks that January 6th rioters are building a gallows to hang Mike Pence. That does not sound like exaggeration to me. That's more like straight out murder.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand why you would say that. Listen, it's really unfortunate that there are so many people in this country that have been brainwashed. It's really unfortunate that there are so many people in this country that are part of a cult that still believe everything that Donald Trump says. A lot of people have lost their livelihoods. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people had to go to jail. Some people will never be the same. And sadly, not all of them, some of them are not horrible people. They're just easily brainwashed and manipulated by Cheeto Jesus. And then that's what's really unfortunate about this whole thing and sad, quite frankly.
I agree with that too, because all that Trump is doing, that's why he wants to pardon to those criminals, because he just wants them to go get away with everything. Like he just wants to see them go after, like Michael Fanone, for example, insult them or all that other stuff. But to me, I say, Michael Fanone is twice the hero, and including those other Capitol Police officers are also heroes.
I agree.
Unlike those January 6th animals.
I completely agree with you. And unfortunately, and thank you for the call, by the way, Joseph. Michael Fanone is a hero. All these Capitol officers are heroes, just like I would say for most police officers and firefighters and first responders. They're heroes. But you see, for MAGA Republicans, it's very convenient for them, isn't it? For MAGA Republicans, they pick and choose when when they back the police. Thank you, Ottawa guy, all the way in Ottawa with your donation. Keep up the good fight. Sean here from Canada, Patel and Bongino. Man, you guys have a tough fight. Yes, we do, but we are going to keep doing what we are doing on this show. There is no question about that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. We got Don Lemon coming up here. And I believe Don Lemon just joined in. So why don't we do it? Before I get to Mr. Don Lemon, I want to play some audio for you before we get to him. So yesterday on the program, I played this audio for you, and I want to play it for you again. As you know, Joy Reid just recently lost her job, and she was very emotional about it. She's been on MSNBC for a very long time. And one of the first people to come out against her and just speak in such a negative tone, kind of mocking her and relishing in the moment, was somebody by the name of Megyn Kelly, who I've had no problem on this show calling a racist bitch, because that's what she is. That's exactly what she is, and a troll. And my friend Don Lemon decided to take to social media and put out a video that has since gone viral, and I love it. I want to play it for you. He is calling her out. Have a listen to this.
So let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go f yourself. Okay? I usually don't like to talk about her because she's one of those people, she thrives on it. She has built the second part of whatever of her career on being a troll.
Don is so right. And by the way, for the record, I've officially become a lemon head. I wanted to be honest with all of you.
Go f yourself.
Yes, there you go. Let's go straight
go
to
f yourself.
Let's go straight to that guy right now, who I just love watching. He's just the best. Don Lemon joining us right now from the Don Lemon Show.
You're going to get me in way more trouble than I already am. Actually, I'm not really in trouble.
You're not in any trouble. I love that video. I absolutely loved it. You know, I talk about Megyn Kelly once in a while on this show. I'm with you on her bigotry and her hatred. I call her the white version of Candace Owens. I mean, what do you make of her being the first ones to go out on social media and just relishing in the moment that a black woman was fired at MSNBC?
Well, I talk about that today on the show, and I put out something on social media that I'm going to put out a little bit. She responded to me saying that I was drafting off of her, whatever, and I was trying to get attention when I never talk about her on purpose. I purposely don't. What do I think? I don't like people who take glee in other people's downfall. I don't care how much I don't like you, whatever. I will never take glee, or rarely, unless you are doing something that's really harmful. I will rarely take glee in your downfall. And I just thought that what she did was just beyond the pale. She's supposed to be this woman who is so pro women, and I'm looking out for women, and she's always calling people bees and you know what, and dumb and stupid, and using F-bombs. And it's just like, you know what? Finally, someone had to do it. So that's why I did it. Again, I ignore her usually because I am actually embarrassed for her that she has become a troll. And so I'm done saying anything about her after today, unless she does something that is just completely egregious, and then I'll have to respond to her,
By her record and her past, that will probably happen again.
I think you have to meet the moment with the moment right now. And it used to be different. When they go low, we go high. I don't think we're in that mode anymore.
Couldn't agree with you more. Did you ever think we'd be living in a country, Don, where the president of the United States would be calling Vladimir Zelensky a dictator and coddling to evil, murderous dictators like Vladimir Putin? Did you ever think we'd be in a situation in this country in our lifetime where this would be actually happening?
No, but I mean, look, it's kind of fitting for this administration. I never thought it. Did you see what Don Jr. did as well? I think it's on social media. Don Jr. said, did you see that where he said, why was Biden giving all that money to Ukraine, wasting our money? He should have been giving weapons to Russia. No, I never thought that we would be doing this, but it's kind of fitting for this particular administration, especially now. We're in an upside down world through the looking glass. I thought during the first Trump administration that it was the lowest that they could go, but I don't think we've seen how low they could go yet. If there's anything that's below the Earth's crust, I think they may go, somewhere into outer space by digging through China and then pass and go out the other side of the Earth. That's how low I think that they are.
What do you make of somebody like an Elon Musk standing up at these meetings with all these dignitaries at the table, and he's just standing there looking like a fool? What do you make of the fact that Caroline Leavitt seems to be lying and hiding things on a daily basis? We did know that this was going to happen. They don't even say who's in charge of Doge, and they're not at least not making things publicly available. And the fact that they keep saying there's all this fraud, but yet there's been no arrest and nobody sent any names to prosecutors, to my knowledge. What do you make of all this?
Well, I think that the American people are extremely concerned, and even the MAGA folks don't like non-elected. I hate it when people say unelected, because that means that they were elected before. If you say unelected, then you unelected them. But non-elected people having so much control of the government and our personal information and people's livelihoods, lives, jobs, etc. And you can only, I mean, the evidence of that, and you know this, are the town halls around the country where Republicans are going back to their districts and they're getting an earful, and now they're pulling back on doing that, on going, because they're just afraid of what they're going to hear, and they're afraid of saying something that will go against dear leader. They can't say that Ukraine started the war, because then the MAGA folks or Donald Trump, well, not the MAGA folks, because I think that they are smart enough to know that some of them, quite frankly, they were smart enough to know that Volodymyr Zelensky is not a dictator, and that he did not start the war. So they're afraid to say, when someone says, who started the war? They can't say, because they'll go against, they know that it was Russia, and they can't go against what Donald Trump says. So I think that the American people are like, hey, wait a minute, we didn't vote for these people.
Right.
And I think it's going to backfire. Now, as far as the White House press secretary, look, there's nothing wrong with being a young person who has achieved and accomplished big things. But if you're going to be in that position, then you should know what you're talking about. You should do your homework. You should also realize that you need to have a healthy respect for the press, because the press work for the American people, and you also work for the American people. They have it backwards. They think that we work for them, that the American people work for the government, that they're our bosses, when it's the other way around. Donald Trump is a public servant. He answers to us. It's not the other way around. And what's her name? Caroline Leavitt answers to us. And quite frankly, she answers to the press. And so I think that the press should stand up. All of them stand up to her. They should get together and come up with some sort of plan or messaging or strategy to stand up to, I believe, bullies who are, who have taken over our government and who actually think that they are the bosses of the American people. They're not.
I agree. Last question for you, Don, and thanks so much for coming on. I saw a video you put out a few weeks ago, and you wear your heart on your sleeve. I've always loved that about you. And you put out a video of several weeks ago where you got emotional and you were humbled by all the people that watch your show. And
I didn't put it out. My social people did, but I guess it's okay. Yeah.
But I loved it, Don, because first of all, you're a humble guy. You've had an incredible career and you're continuing to do great things. And there's so many people that watch your show, and rightfully so. You're very good at what you do. But you're humbled by it and you get emotional. And now, you talked about how you don't have to answer to anybody. There's some freedom in doing what you do. So 2-part question. What do you make, again, you've dealt with this your whole career, the right-wing attacks on you for getting emotional because you're a humble guy? And number 2, are you worried that Donald Trump and the Kash Patels and people in his administration are going to try to silence people like you, or maybe even people like me?
Well, the first part, I had no idea that there was a right-wing attack because I don't pay attention to them. I don't really give it.
I got to be better at that. I got to be better at that, Don.
I can't say a bad word, but let me just say, I don't really give a F about what they think or what they say. That's not my business, what you think of me. Do I think, of course, they will try to come after us and they will try to silence our voices. That's what they're doing already. They're trying to control the news media. They're trying to control journalists and who gets to ask questions and who gets to be where in the White House press pool or whatever. Again, I think the press needs a strategy and they need a backbone and they need to stand up. Yes, they will try to come after us because I think they realize the power that we have. They are able, meaning the administration, they have more of an opportunity and more mechanisms to be able to control the mainstream media than they do with us, because they can get through them, through their bosses, through the corporation, through the shareholders. We don't have any of that. So we could get to tell them to F off or do whatever, or tell the truth about what they're doing. So yes, they will try to silence us. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to try to do it. Maybe it's through litigation, as Donald Trump likes to do all the time. Or maybe it's through access, or maybe it's to limit our reach and to get the folks at the social media sites or at the digital sites to try to suppress our reach. So be prepared for any or all of that.
Yeah, I think we all need to. Final quick thing. Any final message to Megyn Kelly if she's listening?
My final message to Megyn, okay, this is my message to Megyn Kelly. I said what I said. That's it.
That's it. Okay.
I said what I said, and
Yeah.
I'm not changing it.
And I don't think you should. And by the way, I back you 150% on that. Don, you're the best, my friend. I know you got a show to do here at the top of the hour, and always appreciate it when you take the time. I am officially a Lemonhead. I just want to make that very clear to you.
Thank you. And make sure everyone tell your audience tune into the Don Lemon Show on YouTube, like and subscribe. And we're live every day, 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time. And
keep up the great work. You're one of the best.
Joy. And you're on there occasionally. So you come on occasionally to our show, and we love having you.
Yes, anytime. Don, appreciate your time as always.
Real quick. Did you tell the folks what you're doing tonight?
I'm keeping that a secret.
Okay.
I'm keeping that a secret.
All
I'm
right.
going to save that till tomorrow.
Got
But I will be going on a national show tomorrow, and I will be mentioning Don Lemon's name. I made a promise to Don to do that.
You don't tell him that. Don't tell him.
All right, Don, have a good one, my friend. Take care.
Okay,
appreciate
bye.
you.
Bye.
Don Lemon, everybody. Yes, I am going on a national show tomorrow. I'll announce it tomorrow. I'm going to keep it quiet today because we're still trying to figure out the logistics of it. I love Don. He's the best. He is fantastic. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to reset. We're going to take a break. But boy, if you just joined the show, you have missed a lot. We had two people that were convicted for their roles on January 6th. One name is Zach Rell, 15-year sentence, and Pam Hemphill, both completely on the opposite sides when it comes to pro-Trump and anti-Trump, taking responsibility, not really taking responsibility. We just had Don Lemon on the show. His video went viral, telling Megyn Kelly to F off, which I think was great.
Go yourself.
Yes, there you go, Mr. Don Lemon. And we're going to take your phone calls on the other side. Before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors, Jackson's Bar and Grill, sponsors of the show, with the Pass the Puck contest, where you can earn up to $500 in free slot play. Great food, great atmosphere. Please check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Also, my personal website, where you can make donations, and we have some donations that we want to announce for you. Dawn, with a very, very, very generous donation on my website. Dawn says, keep it up. Dawn, I'll continue to keep it up so long as you continue to support this show, and there's great people like you and very generous. Also, Julie went on my website and made a donation on pushingthelimits.live. Thank you, Julie. We appreciate you as well. We are going to take more phone calls on the other side, 702-221-7283, but we're going to reset. We're going to take a quick 90-second break, and we will be back on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Go yourself.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
It's time to wake up and win the weekend. You're listening to the boss of the big ball. JP the Kicker. Giving you that grease. Join me every Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time for the live action on Vegas Scoreboard Express on KSHP 107.1 FM and AM 1400. Dive into the game day with my in-depth analysis, expert predictions, and winning plays from the sharpest minds in sports betting. It's more than just placing bets. It's about securing wins. Head over to jptheticket.com and be sure to tune in to KSHP this weekend from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time to ride the winning wave with VSX. Tune in and get your money back from the sports book. All money, all sports, no bull. Missed the live show? Subscribe to Vegas Scoreboard Express on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast and radio listening.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We just had Mr. Don Lemon himself, D. Lemon, joining us. His comments about Megyn Kelly, I did enjoy that a video very much. Don Lemon does have a he does have a message for Megyn Kelly.
Go f yourself.
Yes, I by the way, I concur. We also had two people that were convicted of charges on January 6th. One, Pam Hemphill, who has asked for forgiveness and owned for what she did and has called out Donald Trump, and another one by the name of Zach Rell, who was sentenced to 15 years and got pardoned by Donald Trump. Very interesting conversation. We will be reposting that interview a little bit later on in the day, so look forward to that. I did promise we would get back to the phone calls at 702-221-7283. Why don't we go to Richard, who's calling out of Vermont? Hey, Richard, what's going on?
Hey, Brian.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. I kind of like your program. I called before, and you're awesome when you gave it to the Trump supporter who just does not get it, because you can talk to them till you're blue in the face, and they will deny.
Yeah.
It's like throwing marbles to a wall. You're not going to penetrate.
Agree.
No matter how hard you try.
Agree.
And that's the way it is with Trump supporters.
I think most are like that. I don't disagree with you. Maybe there's some that we can reach, but I do think it's important to have those kinds of conversations, whether people like it or not. I can't sit here with a guest and just right off the bat call them names because that's not. It's one thing if there's a caller, right? Not you, but it's one thing if some MAGA buffoon calls in and says something stupid. Okay, have a nice day, idiot, and then we'll move on. And I know people enjoy that, but when I invite a guest on the show, at least when the interview starts, I don't want to go there with them. I've
been called names by Trump supporters who just don't get it. You give your opinion and they go batshit crazy with the insults. It's like, really, man? And you just can't get to them.
I'll be honest with you. Every single time a MAGA caller calls into this show, I always usually start off by trying to have a civil conversation with them. Right?
Yeah, I see that.
If somebody immediately calls up and they try to make it personal, not worth my time, move on to the next caller. But if somebody's willing to have a conversation, whether I disagree with them or not, and they're respectful, then I'll be respectful back. As much as I can't stand anybody who stormed the Capitol, what a horrible thing to do, especially those that were violent. I'm still going to give them the opportunity to have a debate with me or discussion. And that's the way that went down.
Well, I don't understand why Trump is allowed to be the president after he incited a deadly riot on the Capitol.
Yeah.
And he's still in the White House. And
because some people are above the law.
He's above the law. Because if I did half the stuff he did, I would be in prison. Now, what would happen if the American people stormed the White House and dragged Trump's ass out into the street? Would they be held accountable for their crimes? Would they go to jail? More than likely they would. They would, but and they would be in there for God knows how long.
Absolutely. No, you're right. You're right. And I agree with you. And we got to keep the fight up, my friend. And, I can't be more clear with the guest that I had on when he was trying to defend him going into the Capitol. And I basically said anybody who went into the Capitol is an imbecile. I mean, I'm not sure what else people want me to say. Do you want me to swear on the air? Not you. I'm not talking about the caller, but there are people on social media. Oh, you needed to push back harder. Well, what are you talking about? I disagreed with everything he said. I challenged him on the election results that he believes were I guess he probably still thinks Donald Trump won. I challenged him on his behavior of what he did that day. I have court records that show his statements and the prosecutors and what they claimed he did. I'm not sure what else people want to do or wanted me to do in that interview, and I wanted to give Pam the opportunity to discuss it with him as well. All right, let's go to Robert, who's calling in out of New York. What's up, Robert? What's going on?
How are you?
Good.
Great. I know Donald Trump since like 1979 when I was working at Tiffany's and they were building Trump Tower. We turned them in with 30 illegal aliens working for $2 a day, and they hadn't been paid for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And they were begging us for food. Tiffany's had decided to add 2 floors to the building while they were under construction. So they rented space from Mr. Trump next door, and the laborers were busting a hole through the wall, and hands appeared in the hole. And they said, "We'll do the work, you give us food." And they explained to us what had happened. And the laborers were like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, we work for Mr. Trump, but he hasn't paid us in 6 weeks, and he owes us $2 a day." At that time, laborers were making $18 an hour.
Yeah.
So we called the INS, and they came the next day, and they rounded up 30 guys, and they deported him out of the country within 1 week. He was taken to court and sued, but he said he didn't know anything about it, and he lost $2.1 million and had to pay the laborers local. I also went to work on Trump Soho, where 3 floors collapsed, being done by children hired by a mob contractor in prison. That guy was unbelievable.
Robert, may I ask you, Robert, because I appreciate
Sure.
your stories, and what you're telling me doesn't surprise me at all. Why is it that there are so many people in this country that call him a good or great businessman? When I've heard your story that you just told me, I've heard it hundreds and hundreds of times over from people that have attempted or have done business with Donald Trump, that he screwed them over, he owes them money, and unfair business practices. But yet they call so many people in this country that voted for him, they think he's this great businessman. So my question to you is, what would you say to them?
They're being sold. They're being buffaloed. He tells them what they want to hear. He says he'll lie to them, tell them everything they want to hear, and then he just won't pay. When we took over Trump Soho, I told my contractor, so listen, don't take that job as the prime. Take it as a subcontractor because you're never going to get paid.
Yeah.
He said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Please don't." And they were picketing that building. It was a 3-building scam. That was the only building built. He ended up bailing out in 2015, a year before the election. Had an unobstructed view with Fed Plaza. I didn't realize it. That was my next job.
Yeah.
Where I installed the security gates and everything like that. And I said, wow, if I was to set up surveillance, this would be the perfect place. And, I ran an extra fiberizer to the building, right to the top of the building.
Yeah.
It was 3 floors fell. The guy who was
horrible.
the safety director was the same safety director for the Bankers Trust fire that killed the 2 firemen.
Oh, that's
And
terrible.
when I went to him, when the crane fell there, I pulled the apprentice in the building. And I just went right after the safety guy. He goes, "Go ahead." I said, "What do you mean, go ahead?" He goes, "I'm going to jail in a couple of weeks for the Bankers Trust fire." I just turned around and walked away. It was unbelievable. I could not believe the incompetence.
What would you say to
of
Donald
that
Trump
job.
if you had the opportunity to speak to him today, sir? What would you say to him?
Oh, I used to have the box right in front of him at Shea Stadium. So I've spoken to him plenty of times. I went after him when he shoved a hot dog. He used to hire cops, or actually sheriffs, for bodyguards. and he told this guy, he was a new guy, go get me a hot dog. So the guy looked around. He said, okay, and got him a hot dog. What did he ask for? A hot dog. And he looked at it. He said, no mustard. And he smashed it in the guy's face. Called him an idiot. Go stand back there. To me, I'm a 9/11 first responder and a bombing first responder. I used to work in the B6 level of Trade Center 2.
Yeah.
And I'm disabled. And I just said that was it. And I went at him. My two guys, my partners, grabbed me, and they carried me out of the stadium. But
wow,
every game it was a horror when he would come. I'd say, "Let's go, let's leave. I can't take it," because he would come second inning, and he had these two guys that worked for him.
Yeah,
and they would come over and praise him, give him false, like, "Oh, I love you. You're a genius."
Oh.
And we get the usher and say, "Who are these guys? Get them out." He go, "I can't. They have tickets to his seats."
But that's the problem. Isn't that the problem, sir? And let me just say thank you for what you've done. Thank you for speaking the truth. You're a hero, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your stories. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth where Donald Trump has had yes men around him his entire life? And you just gave the prime example of that. I hear your frustration. I wish everybody knew the dangers that this man would present like you did when he ran for office in 2015. But a lot of us didn't know. You did. And please call back again, sir. And I appreciate your time. I want to thank Terry for making a very nice donation on pushingthelimits.live. She says, thank you, Brian, from Long Island, New York. Keep up the great fight. You're damn well I will. As long as I have generous people like you, you're damn well I will. Rosetta says, keep up the good work. I listen to you every day. Well, that means a lot. Thank you so much for your donation, and we appreciate you. Wow, what a phone call that was, huh? A guy that's done personal business with Donald Trump, that's had personal interactions with him, sharing some stories. Wow, that was something else. Let's keep going to New York, shall we? Let's go to Dave, who's calling from New York. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good.
Pretty good. Man, I can't match that last story. I mean, I got a list of things to talk about, but wow. I mean, watching the president of the United States right now smash a hot dog in somebody's face, is that how am I interpreting that right?
I am as well. And let me tell you something, I can picture it happening because he had security.
I can too.
He has security with him, and this is the man he has always been. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
But that gets to the core of what I feel is the problem with Trump followers. And this is an opinion, okay? And all I have for proof is just the way that I've had to interact with some of them. They're very immature, and they have this feeling that they have not reached a maturity level yet that is past junior high type of thinking. They don't want to think in finite terms. They want to think in headline terms. And I get the feeling that they feel like they're the quote unquote real Americans. Yeah. And that therefore, because they're the real Americans, that their opinions matter and nobody else's do. And they don't, there's no backing anything up. You know, George Conway says, I read an article by him, I think it was in Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
One of those. And he was talking about how Trump's number one agenda is revenge against America. And that's what I get from his
very
followers.
Well, yeah, and I get that from his followers as well. And you know what, sir? And by the way, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate you. I haven't even talked about this, and I'm probably going to get more into detail about this tomorrow. But Donald Trump now talking about charging $5 million for green cards, as he calls them, gold cards. You want to talk about ridiculous and absurd? First of all, I don't think it's going to happen. He's trying to sell people coming into this country, which is insane, number one. Number two, where are the Democrats here? Every single Democrat that is going to be running for president needs to say, if you buy that gold card or green card or whatever you want to call it now for $5 million, we will revoke your status, we will deport you from the country, and you will not get a refund. That's what every Democrat should be saying right now. Why are they not saying that? You want to talk about a joke? I'm going to sell green cards for $5 million. So if you're wealthy, you get a free pass into this country. But if you're not wealthy and you're struggling, sorry, you got to wait 15 years. Is this the country that we want to live in? This man is insane, by the way, insane. And that's how we get out of debt. That's how we get out of debt. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I'll get more into that tomorrow, but it's absolutely insane. Leon is calling from Seattle, where I lived for a little bit of time. Leon, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, how you doing, man? I appreciate everything that you do and how you just go about your business and just keep it real with the maggot. I call them maggot, the maggots. One thing I want to talk about is, the Republican Party likes to say how they are such Christians and they're the party of family values and Christianity, but yet they want to take away the programs that help, like the special needs kids, the disabled, our veterans. And there's nothing in the Bible that says take away from them and give to the wealthy. So I just wish that Democrats would really call them out on their fake Christianity and go at them from that aspect to say, you know what, you're not really a Christian because you don't look out for the needy. The same people that God or Jesus looked out for, you turn and you spit on them. You kick them when they're down.
Yeah.
And so it's troubling that the budget that the budget passed, but I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. They have no backbone. These Republicans have absolutely no backbone. Let's be very clear on this. What Donald Trump is doing is it's all about his mega donors and his billionaire tech friends, giving them tax breaks while the middle class and those that are struggling in this country pay a higher percentage of taxes. That's when you talk about this budget proposal, the meat of it, that's really what it comes down to. The rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, and those that are in the middle class and those that are struggling are going to struggle more under Donald Trump. We saw the same thing when he was in office in 2016. This is times 5, right? This is times 5.
You say it's times 5. I say it's times 10.
Perhaps, perhaps. Yeah. You're right.
But everything was written in his Project 2025. So we knew what he was going to do.
Listen, you and I have been warning people about this every single day, and there are people out there that just didn't want to listen. And then when members of their family get deported, and then when we learn that people are going to be paying $5 million, I can't imagine this bill would pass. But you never know with these MAGA morons. All Donald Trump has to do is pick up the phone and threaten somebody. Oh, I guess I better vote for that. I'm a strong no on this bill. And then when Donald Trump calls them, all of a sudden they vote for it, within 24 hours because they're idiots. Thank you, The Weirdo, for your donation. Nice name, by the way. The Weirdo says, would you consider doing a discussion on your show their show with any of the bigger, further left content creators? Well, yeah, absolutely. We just had David Pakman on the show last week. Roland Martin is scheduled to come on the show next week. So, of course, absolutely. We get a lot of left-wing podcasters and very popular people on the left. We just had Don Lemon on. But I also like getting popular people on the right to come on as well. Thank you, John, for your contribution. Thank you for chatting with me yesterday, pushing the truth. Thank you, John. I appreciate your support of this show in the YouTube Super Chat as well. 702-221. 7283 is the number to call. Pink Nightmare says, Brian, you need to have Hal Sparks on. I will consider that. I take all of your suggestions and I take them seriously and we work on it. All right, let's go to Tyrone, who's calling out of Baltimore, I believe. Hey, Tyrone, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, good afternoon. Hey, a couple of things real quick.
Yeah.
That program with the stupid gold card, it's already actually a immigration program that existed since the second Bush was in office.
Mm-hmm.
It's something called the Investor Visa, HEBR, something. It's for rich people to be able to come in the country and jump the line. It's just now he wants to.
Let me be clear. I don't care how much money you have. You should not be able to jump the line at the DMV, and you shouldn't be able to jump. You shouldn't be able to jump the line. What we need to be talking about as a nation is an easier pathway to citizenship for people that do come here legally. We need an easier pathway. Do your background checks. We don't want bad people here, but people waiting 15 years to become a legal citizen is a joke. It's a joke, but you'll never hear Republicans talking about that. They want to keep that in place, but make it easier for the millionaires and billionaires to come into this country. It's so sick.
It is sick, and I want to go back to your real quick because I know my time is limited. To your interview you had with the lady, the two January 6th,
Yes.
the one lady,
Zach
the,
Rell and
the
Pam
younger
Hemphill.
John.
Yes.
Right. That guy to say that they just let people in.
I hear that all the time.
You know, yeah, it's like, okay, so would you have preferred they pulled out their guns and started mowing people down?
Notice when I bring that stuff, notice when I bring that up, they don't respond to it. Like they don't, you know,
then,
I bring it up every time.
If that was a predominantly black crowd, what do you think would have happened?
Oh gosh, we all know what would have happened there. There would have been a lot of body bags. There would have been a lot of body bags.
Steps would have ran.
Yep.
The steps would have ran red with blood. So hearing this guy act like he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
like he just was walking by the Capitol and like, oh, hey, the door's open. Let me
That's
go
a
in
lie.
and see how that looks.
Yeah, it's a lie.
It's just like, get out of here,
Yeah.
dude.
So if somebody is robbing a bank, would you walk in there and steal money? I mean, does that make it okay? I mean, listen, it's a ridiculous defense. The guy would still be in jail if not for Donald Trump. That's obvious. I hope he does something productive with his life. I hope he, you know, stays away from the Proud Boys and does something with his life. I like what Pam Hemphill's doing. I really do. I think she's making a difference. I think she's a great lady who did some stupid things on that day, but she's paid the price for it. And boy, she's helped a lot of people along the way in speaking truth to power.
Right.
That's for sure.
Hey, Brian, and last but not least, we're going to have to come to the reality that people like him who live in a world where the sky is purple and the grass is red,
yeah, we
can't unite with them. We can't unite with them because they live in alternate realities.
I agree. They do. And I appreciate you coming on. I did want to read something. Normally I don't read comments unless you make a donation, but I'll make a special exception because I think this is a very special person. Somebody named Jenny on the YouTube chat said, Brian, you don't even debate real debaters. Well, Jenny, maybe you're a master debater. I don't know. But I mean, I've had Vivek Ramaswamy on this show. I've had Larry Elder on this show. I've had Caroline Levitt on this show, just to name a few. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So you can take that and shove it where the sun don't shine. 702-221. I wouldn't debate you because you're an imbecile. You're a waste of time. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Amelia is calling out of Georgia. Hey, Amelia, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you. No problem.
Yeah.
You got it.
This is for Zach. First of all, as a veteran, I would just like to say you're a traitor. You know, and with regards to selective hearing and everything else, but he really got me at I'm done with politics. Well, obviously he needs to go and pick out a Webster dictionary and look up the word contradictory because, you know, what does that mean exactly? If you're done with politics, why are you going back and forth with Pam on the internet? Why is he coming on your show, running his mouth?
Well,
you know,
that's a good point. I don't think he's done with politics yet. Enrique Tarrio is trying to capitalize off of what took place. He's selling T-shirts and Proud Boy stuff, and he's trying to get viral moments on social media. I think he's despicable.
Yeah, they all missed Psychology 101, you know. They really did. Because, you know, that's what coaxing is, and that's what cults are, and all they got to do is keep repeating the same old lies over and over and over again.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Stephanie Grisham, under oath, said that Donald Trump once told her, if you lie over and over again and you repeat the same lies, people will start to believe it. That Donald Trump has been the master at that. And sadly, there are people out there that buy into his lies and his nonsense. And that's why we had January 6th. And that's why there's so much division and hatred with so many people in their heart in this country. And I do hold Donald Trump responsible for most of it. I really do.
Yep. And every single one of those people that were veterans and got pardoned, I don't give a crap. They're still traitors.
Well, I think a lot of them are. I don't disagree with you, my friend. I think a lot of them are. And I do appreciate your call. Thank you so much, my dear. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Patrick is calling out of Georgia. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Brian. I'm calling out of Atlanta. I got a question for you.
Okay.
Why can't I see the receipts with you and your parents?
Can I ask you a question? If you don't mind, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, I don't know. What receipts with what are you talking about? Are there trolls on social media that say stupid things and I don't give them any attention at all? Can you tell me what you're talking about? Like, I don't even know what you're wasting airtime. What are you talking about?
But just tell me what you tipped out when you go out with your parents.
what I tip out when I go out with my parents. Okay, very weird question. But usually if I get good service, it's around 20%. Now, I won't pay somebody $130,000 for 14 seconds, if that's what you're asking. That would be Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump. But if the question is, what do I tip when I'm out with my parents? If the service is good, 20%, why would you? It's a really weird question that you would ask me that, though. Very strange, sir. Very strange question.
You know why.
I don't know why. Explain
Yes,
to me.
you do.
No, I don't.
You know.
I don't. Why would you ask? Why? Do I have a reputation of being a bad tipper? I mean, other than maybe playing the tip with your wife, I don't know what else you're talking about, sir.
Oh, well, someone else called up earlier and you hung up on them as well.
Well, yeah, because I don't like wasting precious airtime, but you seem like such an imbecile. I figured I would give you a few extra seconds because you sound like such a dope. We're talking about,
in the immortal words, can you hear me?
We're talking. I don't think you hear yourself, sir, because I don't.
The immortal words of Don Lemon, go fuck.
Okay, well, again, we're not going to use swear words on the air, but thank you for your call. Asking somebody about what they tip when they're out with their parents at a restaurant is a very weird question to ask. I can tell you this, though, sir. I probably tip a lot higher than you do. But again, if you want to talk about just the tip, just ask your wife and she'll give you a response to that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. What's up, Ray?
Hey, Brian. Gentlemen, you had on a couple people ago about the undocumented laborers in New York. I've known about this for 40 years. I have the original article that I'd like to send to you. It goes into detail about the lawsuits and the names and the labor union.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 15-minute read. It's quite a long article.
Okay. Well, unlike some MAGA supporters that are hooked on phonics, I do know how to read. So if you do send me that article, I will read it. We have some special MAGA supporters out there, like the last caller who probably is illiterate. Maybe he went to the same school Floyd Mayweather went to. I don't know. But
I offered to give this article a couple of my MAGA neighbors here. They said they wouldn't read it.
Well, probably because they can't read, right? Probably like Antonio Brown, they don't know how to read. And they need to go back to school and get their GED. But thank you, sir. I appreciate your phone call, and I will read that. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And we will continue to take your phone calls here up to the top of the hour. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy is calling out of Pennsylvania. What's up, Kathy?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
I was listening to the gentleman that spoke about what was going on in New York with Trump in his early days.
Yep.
And it made me think about an incident that happened, and I wanted to bring it to your attention because I don't think a lot of people realize it. We all know how he really feels about veterans, but what really would hit home for people if this had been public, did you know that during the time that Trump owned what was called Trump Shuttle, one of his many businesses that failed, he actually was sued by a veteran for not rehiring him. It was a veteran pilot, and I can send you the actual lawsuit and the court documents. It was a pilot that had worked for Trump, and he had to go, he was deployed in the military. When a veteran is deployed, their job should be guaranteed upon their return. Trump fired him.
Doesn't surprise me.
So the guy had to file a discrimination suit.
So Donald Trump has been through thousands and thousands of different discrimination lawsuits that he has lost. If you recall, in New York City, he did not want black people living on many of his properties, and he was sued and he had to pay out a lot of those. This is a man who has had horrible business practices his entire life, and he continues to have horrible business practices. But the problem is there are a lot of people in this country that enable him, and they're just as guilty as he is. But this is a guy who has been a swindler. And again, Marco Rubio said it best when he said, if Donald Trump didn't get a $500 million company from his father, he'd be selling fake gold watches in Manhattan, because that's exactly who Donald Trump is. He's a phony. He's a fake.
Yeah. During his first election bid in 2015, the USA Today, and I guess it got buried, but you can find it if you look on Google. The USA Today compiled a listing of all the lawsuits that people brought upon Donald Trump,
Yeah.
and it listed over 4,000 lawsuits.
Oh, yeah, sure. And you know what the Republicans would say that defend him? Oh, well, come on. He's been one of the richest men in the world. This is normal. No, it's not. Has Mark Cuban sued for all these discrimination lawsuits? There are plenty of billionaires out there. And I use billionaire loosely with Donald Trump, but there are plenty of rich, wealthy men out there that have not been sued thousands and thousands of times. I appreciate the call, my dear. Thank you. The number to call if you want to be a part of the show is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Shay. Shay is next up on PTL. What's up, Shay?
What's going on, Brian? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
What do you make of these GOP town halls, Brian?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I've been talking about that this week, and I think there is some hope. There are Republicans throughout the country who have voted for Donald Trump, and some of them have lost their jobs because of Doge. They're angry. They're upset. And they're taking it out on some of these coward politicians in their communities, and they're going to these town halls. But these idiots are the ones that voted for Donald Trump to begin with. Yes, many of them are idiots, okay, and they have buyer's remorse now. But I do enjoy the fact that some of these coward politicians on the right continue to make themselves look like morons, like this guy we talked about yesterday in Kansas. I don't know if you saw this one, where they were talking about federal employees that were losing their jobs, and his response is, God has a plan. What an idiot. What an idiot.
And you know what's the problem is? And the problem is you got people, I've been listening to a lot of open forums, call-ins, and you got people that are for people losing their jobs. For people losing their jobs. I think of this, man. I think Republican lawmakers, they're going to have to make a decision. Either they're going to have to start listening to their constituents, or they're not getting reelected this midterm's coming up. Because I think it's coming, Brian. I think a lot of people are starting to wake up. And it's despicable to see that these politicians are not even trying to confront President Musk. Yes, I said President Musk, not President Trump, because he's the one that's running the country right now.
I agree. I agree with you. As far as the country waking up, oh boy, I hate to be a glass half full kind of guy, but I thought the country woke up after the first time around, and then all of a sudden, look at this, he's back in the White House. So I don't know. It's going to take a lot more than just a few town halls, but we'll hold hope. As I said, as a PTL community, we'll get through the next 4 years together. But it's these are tough times we're living in. And
what you make of the government? What you think of the federal government workers? About them kind of like trying to do like a rebellion or something like that.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. And the reason why I don't think it's going to work is because, unfortunately, the Republicans are in power. Donald Trump is in power. Elon Musk has a lot of power, even though he's not an elected official. I don't want these people to lose their livelihood. I don't want these people to lose their jobs. We need government workers in there. I know a lot of the people, perhaps didn't respond to the weird email that they got, and it probably took them off guard.
Well, I work in the federal government, Brian.
Yeah. So you got that email as well?
A lot of us, my agency, we was told not to respond to it.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
A lot of things what's going on is a lot of the top heads for the agencies are actually just giving out or actually writing these emails for everybody in the agency. But I think it's very despicable that it's come down to this, where a man that's not even an elected official has us writing these emails. For anybody to have to be writing these emails.
Did they tell you why they didn't want you to respond?
Well, a lot of people, for one, we were told about it, being like, thought it was a scam. What happened was the DOD, Department of Defense, that's where I work in.
Yeah.
And we were told not to respond yet. It was basically essentially put on hold until we were given the real, like, clear message about it, because it was chaos everywhere about the email.
So do you think there's a chance you're going to lose your job because you didn't respond?
I worked in a critical, essential job. So I think for the most part, I think I'm going to be fine.
Okay.
But again, it's like, I think of federal government workers, I look at us like a family.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like police officers, like firefighters. You know, they're a family.
Yeah.
And you know, and you're seeing them out there protesting. It's like we're all one big family, man. And people don't understand how essential every federal government job is.
May I ask you something else? Were your the management in your government position, were they taken off guard? Because Caroline Leavitt and the White House say nobody was taken off guard. Can you respond to that? Were you and your bosses taken off guard by this email?
A lot of people, Brian, are pissed off about it. You'd be amazed, like, for example, like our top heads, like they are really ticked off.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing about this is that, you know, it's just crazy to me how we're like basically the front line for when it comes to consumer protection, you know, for a lot of things. And these people just don't understand. These people that are anti-federal government, they think we're lazy. They think we don't work hard. They're in for a rude awakening. Because a lot of federal government agencies are clearly understaffed.
Right.
You see what you're seeing with the aviation, with the FAA, all these plane crashes, all these plane incidents that we've had. We are very understaffed with air traffic controllers.
Sure.
We are very. I mean, it's
Did
just.
you see what happened yesterday? Did you see what happened yesterday? There were two more close call incidents on the runway. There were two more incidents yesterday. Yeah.
At Midway Airport.
Yeah.
And then you got another one, and then you got another situation with the IRS. So for the people that are looking for their refund check, they gutted. I think they fired like 6,000 to 8,000 IRS workers.
Yeah, they did.
So
if
if you're expecting your check, it might be a delay. You might have bills you got to pay.
Yeah,
and
you'll get Donald Trump's name on that check, but it might come in 25 years. I hear you, my friend. But listen, I appreciate you. I hope you keep your job. You sound like a very intelligent man, and I'm sure you're very good at what you do. We hope you keep your government job and stay safe, my friend. Listen to your bosses, and let's hope for the best. And I appreciate you. Let's go to Linda. Linda, turn down your radio if you can, Linda, wherever you're listening. And Linda out there in Ohio. Go ahead, Linda.
Let's hope for the best.
Linda?
Trying to turn this down.
Okay, go right ahead.
Trying to turn this down.
Okay. We do have a little bit of a delay here on PTL Nation. Go ahead, Linda. I got about 1 minute. Go ahead.
There we go.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay. So I haven't heard anything about what is going on to counter this. Heard anything?
Counter what specifically?
What's going on in our government?
Well,
what are we doing to stand up against tyranny?
Well, there's a couple things that you can do. Call your politicians, peacefully protest. The Democrats in office certainly need to be stronger with their messaging. There's not a lot that a lot of people can do right now when you have Donald Trump at the helm as the president and Elon Musk, or maybe Donald Trump as the first lady and Elon Musk as the president, and Republicans in power. There's not a lot we can do other than on this show every day, call out the MAGA Republicans, the ones with no backbone, and that's probably 99% of them, and talk to your local politicians, keep calling them, go to these town halls, and these Republicans are getting embarrassed. Keep doing it. And let's get to those midterms with some confidence, and let's hope that things change and we get these MAGA Republicans out of office, my dear. All right. Been a fun show. I appreciate Zach Rell and Pam Hemphill for joining us. Also, of course, Mr. Don Lemon himself for joining us. We appreciate that as well. And get emails. Thank you, everybody, for the donations, by the way. Some of you that have gone to my website. This is an independently run radio show. We rely on good people like you. Word of mouth is very important. We appreciate that. And, of course, going to my website, pushingthelimits.live. You go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. We sell PTL gear. We sell merchandise. We sell shirts with my mug on it that say, don't be a right-wing buffoon. That's my personal favorite. Hats, beanies, you name it. We also accept donations on pushingthelimits.live. And, of course, also all those that are on the YouTube Super Chat. We appreciate you. It is free to subscribe to my YouTube page. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on YouTube. YouTube is probably the best way to watch the show. It's at PTL Radio Show. It's free to subscribe. We want you to be interactive. We want you to give us the thumbs up. Even though the MAGA supporters out there would probably give me the middle finger, but that's okay. That's engagement as well. That's what people don't understand. Criticism and attacks are engagement. And you guys give me more reason to fight hard for what I do on this radio show every day. And I'm not going to change. I will tell you that. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Thank you all for joining us. I love all you guys. As I say every day, we have the most informed and educated listeners of any radio show out there, in my personal opinion. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out